let's jump right into today's explainer because we are looking at an absolutely incredible story about a world-changing historical marvel that's been hiding literally right beneath the feet of modern college students. We're talking about a discovery that completely rewrites what we thought we knew about the deep past, and it's all built on some truly groundbreaking, kind of mind-blowing archaeological research.
Picture this for a second. You're walking across the bustling Louisiana State University campus down in Baton Rouge. You're just heading to class, maybe chatting with some friends, totally unaware that you are strolling past some of the oldest surviving human-made structures in the Americas. I mean, it sounds like the plot of an adventure movie, right? But this ancient secret is 100% real.
So, for generations, students have walked past, played frisbee near, and even just hung out on these two giant hills right smack in the middle of campus. Each one of these rises about 5 to 6 meters up. So we're talking roughly 16 to 18 feet above the surrounding land, and they sit about 60 meters apart. For the longest time, basically everyone on campus just assumed, hey, they're just natural features of the Louisiana landscape.
Well, not exactly. Archaeologists confirmed a while back that these hills aren't natural at all. They're actually the LSU Campus Mounds. They are carefully, intentionally engineered earthen monuments created by indigenous people thousands of years ago. Now, researchers definitely knew they were old, but their true age? That was revealed in a recent scientific study, and it has completely and utterly stunned the archaeological community.
Section 1. The Age Revelation. A discovery that shocked the archaeological world.
Back in 2022, a major study dropped that really sought to pin down the exact timeline of when these mounds were built. And to anchor their claims, these scientists didn't just take a wild guess. No, they collected and rigorously analyzed 31 separate radiocarbon dates. 31! They carefully pulled these samples from deep inside the earthen structures just to get an airtight read on the ancient organic materials trapped in the dirt.
The results they got back? Absolutely mind-blowing. The radiocarbon dating suggested that construction on the first hill, which they call Mound B, began approximately 11,000 years ago. Let that sink in. 11,000 years. Then, work on the second structure, Mound A, started several thousand years after that. If this holds up, it literally makes the LSU Campus Mounds the oldest known intact man-made structures in the entire Americas.
To really put the sheer scale of that number into perspective, let's think about the heavy hitters of ancient history. We usually view the Egyptian step pyramid, which is roughly 4,700 years old, or Stonehenge, at about 5,000 years old, as the absolute pinnacle of human antiquity, right? But at 11,000 years old, these earthen sentinels sitting in Louisiana dwarf those famous monuments by thousands of years. They were standing tall long before the pyramids were even a spark of an idea. Section 2. The Ice Age Builders. Who constructed these ancient marvels?
So this brings up a crucial point about how we picture the builders of ancient monuments. The common myth is that you need these powerful kings, sprawling empires, giant armies, and heavy metal tools to construct something that can survive for millennia. But the reality here is so much more fascinating. These mounds were built by indigenous hunter-gatherers. They didn't have metal tools. They didn't have standing armies. Instead, they possessed a remarkably deep understanding of their environment, living off the land, gathering plants, and hunting animals right at the very tail end of the last ice age. There's a quote directly from the source material that perfectly captures just how monumental this achievement really was. It says, moving thousands of tons of earth with simple baskets and wooden tools would have required planning, teamwork, and generations of effort. It just proves that highly sophisticated engineering and massive, large-scale teamwork existed in North America way earlier than anyone ever imagined.
Section 3. Mysteries and ongoing debate. What lies within the mounds?
Now, what's really interesting is what the archaeologists actually found when they looked inside the earth to try and figure out what the mounds were used for. And honestly, it's what they didn't find that's telling. They didn't find evidence of homes or trash pits or everyday living. No signs of defensive forts either. Instead, as they dug deep, they discovered numerous, very deliberate thin layers. First, burned reeds, then cane plants, and finally, tiny fragments of burned bone.
So what does this all mean?
Well, these highly specific, layered findings suggest that the sites definitely weren't for daily living, but rather, they were incredibly sacred places. The presence of those burned organic materials and bone fragments strongly indicates that the mounds were utilized for ceremonies, rituals, or possibly cremation activities. And while researchers are definitely still debating the exact nature of those events, it's crystal clear that this was a site of immense, profound cultural significance.
And here is where the story gets even wilder. The timeline of how this engineering feat came together is just staggering. The evidence shows that construction didn't just happen all at once in some big push. It started 11,000 years ago with Mound B, but then there was a massive pause in the building, a pause that lasted for thousands of years. Scientists think this was possibly driven by major climate changes in the region, but astonishingly, after that enormous gap in time, literally millennia later, descendant generations returned to this exact same sacred spot to resume the work and kick off the construction of Mound A. Of course, because a claim of 11,000 years is so paradigm-shifting, it's really vital to note that some archaeologists do still question aspects of this 2022 interpretation. They want to see more evidence before that incredibly early date is universally accepted. And honestly, that is a completely normal, healthy part of how the scientific method works. As new discoveries are unearthed, our understanding of the ancient past is constantly being tested, debated, and refined.
Section 4. A living ancient legacy, preserving the past in the present. So what should you really take away from all this? The big picture here is that the LSU Campus Mounds fundamentally challenge basically everything we thought we knew about early American history. They prove the deep, early existence of sophisticated engineering among indigenous hunter-gatherers. They showcase these incredible, enduring, ancient ceremonial traditions, and they remind us that archaeology is an ever-evolving journey of discovery. Today, these irreplaceable, protected treasures just sit quietly in the middle of a modern, bustling university, acting as a testament that monumental landscapes were being shaped here long before the rise of famous ancient civilizations anywhere else in the world. Whether they ultimately stand as the absolute oldest confirmed man-made structures in the Americas, or if future discoveries come along and reshape the story yet again, they are undoubtedly extraordinary. As we keep uncovering the true depth of human history right here in our own backyards, it really leaves us with one incredibly thrilling question to ponder. What other ancient monuments are hiding out there, just waiting to be discovered in plain